Efforts to win the Hispanic vote are at the top of the priority list for both the Obama and Romney presidential campaigns this election season, and there's a good reason why. This is a large and fast-growing segment of the electorate and could be the difference maker on Election Day. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Own the Vote. I'm Robert Traynham. My guest today is Sindy Benavides, Civic Engagement Director for the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC. Sindy, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Robert, for having me.
As I mentioned a few moments ago, the Hispanic Latino vote is growing. I read by 2050, the year 2050, they clearly will be the largest minority group, or perhaps maybe the largest majority group in this country. There is no question about it that this is a fast and growing segment of the population. Both President Obama and Governor Romney have made reaching out to the community a #1 priority. I know you are a nonpartisan organization, but let's talk for a few moments about how well they're doing in terms of connecting with the community.
So when we look at both sides of the aisle, it's important to note how the Latino community, it's very similar to all other communities. So when you talk about issues that are important to us, at the top of the list is economy, fixing, creating jobs, fixing the economy. It's healthcare, it's education, and immigration.
Of course.
And so when we're looking at the variety of issues and looking at how both of the candidates are doing in terms of those issues that matter to us, we are definitely looking at how distinctive they are. And for us, it's important, to not only look at what's going to happen in this election, but also looking at the impact that this is going to have on policies in 2013.
I want to talk for a few moments. As I mentioned before, this is a #1 priority for both the Romney and Obama campaigns, is the overall election come November 6th. We are days away from the election, literally and figuratively. Voter registration, how important is that in your community?
It's incredibly important. So there was a recent report by the Pew Hispanic Center where it states that there's close to 24 million Latinos who are eligible to register to vote.
24 million Latinos. 24
million Latinos who are eligible to register to vote. And we expect that in 2012, in this year's election, close to 12 million will actually turn out at the polls. So that gap is huge, it's humongous. And we're hoping that we are able to close that gap one step at a time, getting the voice out that it's important to register to vote and to turn out to vote. And we're doing this in different mediums, whether it's direct voter contact, through media outlets, and definitely passing on the voice with our community.
Sindy, when you take a look at the African American community from a public policy standpoint, you have Condoleezza Rice, you have Maxine Waters, you have Colin Powell, you have a lot of African Americans, if you will, that represent the community from a diverse point of view, both in the conservative point of view and also the progressive point of view. Who is that in the Latino community that kind of has a national platform that can look into the camera and says, you know what, I know exactly who you are, I am one of you, we have the same ethnic origins here, and thus in the process, I need you to get out and vote? In other words, who has that bully pulpit in the Latino community?
I think in the Latino community, we do not have one sole person. You certainly have leaders on both sides of the aisle, whether it's Senator Menendez or Governor of New Mexico, Susana Martinez, working there as well. But you also have individuals like Eliseo Medina with the labor unions and others who are definitely working closely with the Latino community to make sure that we're registering to vote no matter what our ethnic background.
Sindy, there's another thing that's in the news that we have to talk about, and that's voter ID. There are a lot of folks out there that says, well, wait a minute. In order for you to get on an airplane, in order for you to perhaps purchase a beer or anything like that, you have to have a valid form of ID. The other side of that coin, or the other side of their argument is, wait a minute, this is voter suppression. This is perhaps maybe discriminatory because there are a lot of individuals out there that perhaps may not have any forms of ID. And under the Constitution, if they are an American citizen, they have the right to vote. I know voter ID is very important to you and your organization. Tell us about your stance.
Absolutely. In terms of voter ID, we definitely feel that it's a voter suppression tactic. And the reason why we're seeing that, since 2008, we have seen several states pass voter ID. When you look at who this impacts, it's mainly the elderly, it's the young, it's communities of color, African American, Latinos, Native Americans.
So the most vulnerable of our society.
Absolutely. So it's important that, we take note of that, but also that the other thing that we need to take into account is the foreclosures that have happened and how many people have not, one, updated their IDs, whether it's their driver license or their ID in general with their new address, nor that they know that they have to register again and have that proper ID to be able to vote.
You know, Sindy, you mentioned something that I think is very important to our viewers that are watching this at home or in their office or on their PDA, and that is you probably should go to your state Secretary of State or Board of Elections and understand exactly what you need to have in terms of documentation when you go to the voting booth. But just as importantly, you need to know exactly where your voting precinct is. You probably need to know when is it time to register, when is the deadline, when is the cutoff time, or perhaps maybe even when is the beginning time for you to register. It varies depending on your state. One state may have one date, the other state may have another date. So it's very, very important for any individual out there that wants to vote and should be able to vote to go to your state Board of Elections to get the proper information, because it varies by state. Do not listen to your neighbor. Do not listen to your friend because perhaps they may have the wrong information. Go to the website and Google this and make sure you get the right information. Sindy, my last question for you specifically is, what is your main goal? Is your main goal to get every single 24 million individuals registered to vote? Is it to raise people's awareness within the community? Is it a combination of both? Tell us specifically what your objective is.
Absolutely. It's a combination of things. So it's one, making sure that those who are eligible to register to vote in this election register. Two, that they turn out to vote, whether it's absentee ballot, whether it's voting early, whether it's going to the polls on November 6th and voting in person. Third, is to really build a culture of consciousness of civic participation, that this is important, it's personal, that, you know, whether you're voting for a candidate, you're voting on the issues, that this matters to you and it hits right at home. And it varies by issues. Again, it could be immigration, it could be healthcare, it could be the economy. And when you look at the Latino community specifically, we know that every single year, more than 52,000 Latinos are turning 18 every single month. That's 600,000 a year, 2.4 million in 4 years. So we're a growing community, and certainly we're in swing battle states.
As I always say, Sindy, everybody's got skin in the game. This is your government. This is your voice. These are your elected officials or individuals that want to be your elected officials. And so thus in the process, take a little bit of time out of your day to vote, because it's your future and it's also your vote. Thank you very much. And of course, thank you for joining us for this edition of Own the Vote. I'm Robert Tranum. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.